I still remember that night, the rain pouring, the street lights flickering, and my phone trembling in my hands. His words, "I love you," echoed in my heart, but something inside me whispered a different story. And the truth I uncovered shattered everything I believed about love. Welcome to the Untold Love, where stories of the heart unfold. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. It means the world. I met him on an ordinary day, in the most unexpected way. Life has a strange way of bringing people together sometimes when you're not even looking for anyone. He came into my life like a soft breeze on a summer evening, gentle, refreshing, and carrying with it a sense of comfort I didn't even know I was craving. From the very first conversation, there was something different about him. The way he spoke, the way he listened, it was as if he truly heard every word I said. He wasn't just waiting for his turn to speak, he was absorbing my silence, my pauses, even the words I struggled to find. That rare kind of attention felt like sunlight after years of cold winters. I remember his smile. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. A smile that made me believe in safety, in warmth, in trust. When he looked at me, it felt as if I was the only person in the room. And when he spoke, his words carried a kind of sincerity that my heart couldn't resist. He didn't just say nice things. He said the things I had always longed to hear, but never dared to hope for. In those early days, everything felt like a dream. Long calls at night, laughter over the smallest jokes, and those deep, meaningful conversations where he promised me forever. He said I was the one he had been waiting for all along. And I believed him. Every single word. Because sometimes, when your heart is thirsty for love, even a drop feels like an ocean. Slowly, without even realizing it, I started to trust him blindly. I didn't question where he was when he was late. I didn't doubt the excuses when he canceled plans. My heart convinced my mind that love means faith, and faith means not asking questions. Looking back now, I see how quickly I fell, but at that time, it felt like destiny. Like maybe, after all the heartbreaks and lonely nights, I had finally found the one person meant for me. The one who whispered "I love you," not as a habit, but as a truth. And so, I gave him my heart. Completely. Without hesitation, without fear, without knowing that he was hiding something I wasn't ready to face. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. And somewhere along the way, I found myself building my world around him. Every morning began with his good morning message, and every night ended with his voice, soft and reassuring, whispering "I love you" before we fell asleep on the phone. It's strange how quickly a person can become your habit, your comfort, your safe space. His words painted pictures of a future where it was just him and me walking hand in hand. Building a home, creating a life together. He didn't just speak of love, he spoke of forever. And I believed him. With every heartbeat, I believed him. He had this way of making even the simplest moments feel magical. A walk in the park felt like an adventure. A shared coffee felt like a ritual. The silence between us never felt empty. It was filled with unspoken promises, glances that said more than words ever could, and laughter that echoed long after the moment was gone. With him, I felt seen. Not just for the person I showed the world, but for the person I truly was inside, the vulnerable, imperfect, messy version of me. And instead of running away, he held me closer. That kind of acceptance. It was rare, and it made me fall for him even more deeply. I told myself, this is it. This is love. The kind of love people wait a lifetime for. And the more I thought it, the more I gave. I gave him my time, my trust, my heart, piece by piece, until there was nothing left of me that didn't belong to him. I ignored the little signs. The moments he grew distant. The nights when his voice carried a weight I couldn't understand. The times he avoided my questions with a smile. Because love, I thought, means believing, not doubting. And I loved him, too much to doubt. I thought I was his everything. I thought he was my soulmate. And so, when he said, "Trust me," I didn't hesitate. I placed my entire world in his hands, blind to the cracks I would only see much later. At that moment, I wasn't afraid of losing him. The only thing I feared was a life without him. It all began with small things. So small that at first, I brushed them aside. A missed call here, a delayed reply there. He used to answer instantly, sometimes even before my phone rang twice. But now, hours would pass. And when he finally did reply, his words felt rushed, almost distracted. I told myself, he's just busy. Everyone gets busy. But deep inside, a whisper started growing louder, the whisper of doubt. One evening, as we sat across from each other in our favorite cafe, I noticed something different. His eyes didn't meet mine the way they used to. He smiled, yes, but it was the kind of smile that hid more than it revealed. And when his phone buzzed, he quickly turned it over, screen facing down, before I could even glance at it. My heart stung, but I forced a laugh. "Why so secretive?" I asked. He chuckled, kissed my hand, and said, "It's nothing important. You're the only one who matters." His words should have comforted me. But they didn't. They only left me with more questions. Nights became harder. I would stare at my phone, waiting for his calls that never came at the usual times. When I asked, he always had an explanation: ready work, family, tiredness, and each time, I believed him. Or rather, I wanted to believe him. Because the thought of him lying was too painful to accept. But the distance between us was no longer invisible, it was real, tangible. The conversations that once flowed endlessly now stumbled on silences. His laughter felt forced. His promises felt rehearsed. And yet, whenever he looked into my eyes and said, "Trust me," I nodded. Because wasn't love about trust? Still, a part of me couldn't ignore the unease gnawing at my heart. The way his phone never left his side. The late-night messages that made him step out of the room. The hesitation in his voice when I asked about his future plans with me, plans he once painted so vividly. I wanted to believe it was all in my head, that I was overthinking, but sometimes, silence speaks louder than words. And his silence was beginning to break me in ways I couldn't admit out loud. It was the beginning of the cracks. Cracks I refused to see, until they grew wide enough to swallow everything we had built together. The truth has a strange way of revealing itself, not in grand, dramatic moments, but in the smallest cracks of everyday life. For me, it began with his phone. One night, we were watching a movie together. He had fallen asleep beside me, his head resting gently against my shoulder. His phone buzzed, lighting up the screen. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't the type to snoop, but something inside me, something heavy and restless, urged me to look. I picked it up with trembling hands. And there it was, a message. Short, simple, but enough to shatter me. "I miss you. When will I see you again?" I froze. The sender's name wasn't saved, just a number. But the words. They were intimate, far too intimate. My chest tightened, my breath caught, and for a moment, I couldn't even feel the ground beneath me. I placed the phone back carefully, as if nothing had happened. He stirred slightly, but didn't wake. I sat there in silence. The movie playing in the background, while my entire world blurred before my eyes. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I forced a smile, asked about his day, laughed at his jokes, but my mind, it was no longer at peace. Doubt had turned into fear, and fear into quiet devastation. Over the next few days, I began noticing more. The late-night calls he would take in another room, the way he guarded his phone, even in the shower, the sudden business trips that he never mentioned before. And every time I asked, his answers were wrapped in sweetness, but laced with something I couldn't name, something cold, something distant. One evening, unable to bear it any longer, I asked him directly. My voice shook, but I managed the words, "Is there someone else?" He looked at me, eyes wide, a hint of anger flashing before quickly softening. "How could you even think that?" he said. He held my hands tightly, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "You're the only one." For a moment, I almost believed him. I wanted to, but the truth doesn't stay hidden forever. And the truth was already standing right at my door, waiting to tear apart everything I thought I knew about love. The silence between us had grown louder than words. I could no longer pretend. I could no longer smile through the cracks in my heart. One evening, I gathered all my courage and waited for him to return home. My hands were cold, my chest heavy, and my mind kept replaying that message, those late-night calls, those excuses. When he walked in, smiling as if everything was normal, I couldn't hold back anymore. "Sit down," I said, my voice firmer than I expected. He looked at me curiously, dropping his keys on the table. "What's wrong?" he asked, almost casually. I stared at him, searching for the man I once thought was my soulmate. "I know," I whispered. My words shook, but they cut through the room like a storm. "I know you've been hiding something. Or someone." His face changed. The smile disappeared. His jaw tightened. For a long moment, he said nothing. I thought maybe he would deny it, maybe he would comfort me again with sweet lies. But instead, he sighed deep, tired, heavy. "You weren't supposed to find out," he finally said. My breath caught, My chest burned. The room seemed to close in around me. So it's true, I whispered. He ran his hands through his hair, frustration in his eyes. It's complicated. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't mean to hurt you. Tears welled in my eyes. Then why? My voice cracked. Why did you say you loved me if you were giving your heart to someone else? He looked at me then, really looked at me, and for the first time, I saw guilt written all over his face. Because I do love you, he said quietly. But love isn't always enough. His words shattered me. Love wasn't enough. After everything, after every promise, after every moment we had shared, wasn't love supposed to be everything? The confrontation didn't end with answers. It ended with silence, two broken souls sitting across from each other, realizing that the truth had drawn a line between us that could never be erased. That night, I understood one thing. Sometimes the person you trust the most becomes the stranger who hurts you the deepest. After that night, silence became our only language. We moved around the house like strangers, two shadows under the same roof. Every corner that once echoed with laughter now felt like a reminder of what we had lost. I kept waiting for an apology, for an explanation, for something that could mend the cracks. But days passed, and instead of healing, the distance between us grew. His phone still lit up with late-night messages, and his excuses still sounded empty. One evening, I stood by the window, watching the rain fall, and I realized something. I was waiting for a love that no longer existed. I was clinging to a dream that had already slipped away. When he walked in that night, drenched and tired, I finally found the courage to say the words I had been holding back. I can't do this anymore, I whispered. My voice was soft, but it carried the weight of my broken soul. He froze, staring at me. What do you mean? I mean us, I said, tears brimming in my eyes. I gave you everything, my heart, my trust, my soul. But you gave me secrets. You gave me lies. His face fell for the first time. I saw regret flicker in his eyes. Please, he said, stepping closer. Don't leave. I never wanted to lose you. But his words felt like echoes in an empty room. I shook my head slowly. You already did. The silence after that was unbearable. My heart pounded, my hands trembled, but deep inside, I knew this was the moment, the breaking point where love turned into survival. I picked up my bag, the one I had packed silently days ago, and walked toward the door. My steps felt heavy, as if each one carried years of memories. He didn't stop me. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he knew it was too late. As I stepped out into the rain, the cold drops washed over me. For the first time, I felt free, though my heart was shattered. I realized then, sometimes, love doesn't end with a fight, it ends with a silence too heavy to carry. That night, I walked away not because I stopped loving him, but because I finally started loving myself. Years have passed since that night I walked away. Time, they say, heals all wounds, but I've learned that some wounds don't disappear. They simply become a part of who you are. I built a life for myself, slowly, carefully. Some days were heavy, filled with memories that haunted me. But on others, I found light in small things, in laughter with friends, in the quiet strength I discovered inside me. Sometimes, I still wonder what he's doing now. Does he think of me the way I sometimes think of him? Does regret weigh on his heart, or has he moved on, forgetting the girl who once trusted him blindly? But then, I remind myself, it doesn't matter anymore. Because my story isn't about him. It's about me. About how I survived betrayal. About how I chose to rise instead of staying broken. One afternoon, I passed by the cafe where we once spent countless evenings. Through the glass window, I saw him older, different, sitting across from someone else. For a moment, our eyes met. There was no anger, no pain, just silence, and perhaps, a trace of memories we both carried. I smiled softly, not because I forgot, but because I healed. And then, I walked away, without a second thought. Love, it doesn't always end the way we dream. Sometimes, the greatest love story isn't the one we share with another, but the one we create with ourselves. And that day, I finally understood. Letting go wasn't losing him, it was finding me. Thank you for staying with me till the end of this story. I know it wasn't just a story, it was a journey of trust, heartbreak, and healing. And maybe, somewhere in these words, you saw a reflection of your own life, your own emotions. On this channel, The Untold Love, we share pieces of the heart stories that remind us how fragile love can be, yet how strong the human spirit truly is. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe. like and share your thoughts in the comments. Your words make this space feel like a family, where none of us are alone in our emotions. And remember, love is beautiful, but it's also complicated. Sometimes it breaks us, sometimes it saves us, but it always teaches us something we never forget. Stay connected, because in our next story, we dive into another tale of love and mystery where promises and secrets collide in ways you won't expect. Until then, take care of your heart. And never stop believing in love, even when it hurts. Because every untold story deserves to be heard.